What did you do?
Oh,
yes.
Okay, yes.
Yes, what did you do?
Oh, okay.
So, what do you do?
Now I study
You
English.
study. What did you do in 1995?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? Your job in 1995?
Oh,
What did you do, you see?
I worked teacher.
Okay. I worked as a teacher.
As teacher.
As a teacher. Okay, so what did you do in 1995? I worked as a teacher.
Okay, you can close your books for a second. Let's see. Fiammetta, in Italy, do you have anything similar to a free school?
Actually, I don't think so.
No?
No.
How about in Korea, Hyungbum?
We have some, but I think it's not usual. Yeah.
It's not the usual.
Yeah.
Vanch, would you like to go to a free school?
Well, not really.
Why?
I don't know, just we have one similar school in Slovenia, and what I saw, I don't like it.
No, not for you.
What I saw on television and things like that.
Okay. How about you, Roman?
I've never heard about a free school in Switzerland, but I'm not sure if I would like to go there.
No?
Because if you don't have to go to lessons, you will just choose the lessons you like, and maybe you will miss.
Me?
Oh yes, I usually read in the afternoon too. But recently,
Osamu book is
I didn't read the book. What type of thing do you read most?
poetry.
Maybe I like music, so I read the music about I read most my dictionary. Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Okay, should we go through the answers? Okay, for number 2 then, second sentence, A or B? A. Okay. And number 3? Number 4? And finally? Yes. Good.
So the verbs that we're going to choose from at the top of task 7, we've got a list of, how many have we got? 10 verbs there. Okay, can you just for a moment look at those and see if there's any that you don't recognise?
So, for example, I might point to Jin Won and he'll say, orange. Easy? Okay, I'm going to point to Anna. She'll say chicken. Okay? You've got 3 seconds. If you don't say the name of a food in 3 seconds, I'm afraid you're out of the game.
When I say, what can you read, everybody says a book, and you're like, oh. But if you look around you, you can look, what have we got on the notice board here? What can you see? What are they? On the notice board. Notices, yep, you can see notices. Advertisements, yeah.
Which was first? Yep. And what did we follow with that? Follow that with last time? What was the other sentence that you saw?
Most famous pyramids. No.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe the first one.
Yeah, that's the one we saw before, wasn't it? You put them together. So they're the first two. Now
Yes.
try and sort out the others.
Which one did you like, Yungwon?
I prefer the fourth picture, fourth lesson.
Uh-huh.
Maybe in the kindergarten or maybe in the primary school or kind of private.
Could have been a private school.
Yeah.
What adjectives did it make you think of?
Which one?
This the primary school or the nursery school? Or any of them? Intensive?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in the picture.
Okay, should we check those? So, Hidayat, would you like to read us our new sentence 2?
2. This program was established to improve access to medical care.
Excellent, good. Yeah. Pimpa, number 3.
Research expenditures have increased to nearly $350 million.
Good, excellent.
Can you think of something like for very hot weather, or like the Earth getting hotter, maybe global warming, greenhouse effect, something like that. That'd be lovely.
Let's go back to this. How many syllables in this word?
2.
Okay, how many vowel sounds in this word? 1. So how many syllables?
Greenhouse effect, something like that.
But one of the things that always interests me is how close teachers get to students and how appropriate that is.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the class, doesn't it? Nationality can come into it, whether people are comfortable with how close you are to them.
Is that something to do with nationality?
Yeah, I just think you have to take that into consideration. Just choosing one position to stand in and saying, well, that's where I stand, isn't really the case. I mean, you have to, depending on what you're doing and where the people are from as well. Southern Europeans might be more comfortable with you being close to them or crouching next to them than other nationalities, for example.
What's your reaction to the clips you've just been watching?
My immediate reaction, what struck me first was the variety of teaching styles that was evident in all of the clips. So that got me thinking about teaching styles in general and my own teaching style and what it was, and whether I've actually got one or whether it's better to think of it as having multiple styles that you adapt to certain situations, different classes, different tasks. I looked at the clips and I thought, well, am I like that in other situations? And I thought, well, I am, and the style that you take into the class will depend a lot on what you're teaching, who you're teaching, what you're trying to achieve. So I think it is true that people have different styles, but I think each person also has a number of styles that they adapt to a particular situation.
Did you think carefully about things like standing and seating, or is that just something you sort of do without thinking too carefully about it?
I think you consciously think about it sometimes, but I think it would be true to say that it's something that comes with experience. I mean, you start knowing the best place to be for a certain task, for a certain activity. And And that could be for a number of factors. Whether the exercise is teacher-centred or student-centred. Whether there's an element of correction needed. Does that correction involve all of the students or one individual? If it does involve all the group, then it might be best to be near the board, so you can use that as an aid. So there are a number of factors that I'd say. And also, I think sometimes, you know, if you're looking at, for example, accuracy, then it's necessary for you to be next to the students because that's the whole point. You're supposed to be correcting them. For other activities, for example, brainstorming, it might not be necessary for you to be there at all. I mean, you could just leave a group and come back to them and see what they've come up with.
I was interested in the contrast between when you were working with the individual groups of people, you tended to sort of stand by the table and do it like that. And we saw some of the other teachers were sort of sitting on tables, crouching on the floor, that kind of thing. I wondered if you had any comments on that.
Yeah, well, I think, again, it was interesting seeing the other teachers and the other clips. I think there are moments when I will crouch next to a group of students, and I think sometimes by crouching next to a group and not being visible to other groups, you're not interfering with what they're doing. By standing up, you're still visible. People might be listening to what you're saying to a particular student, not focusing on what they're supposed to be doing with their group. And I've noticed that in a few situations where people have sort of looked over, you know, what's he correcting? Shall I write that down? If you're not visible, you can help the group that you're working with, allowing the others to get on with it and then move on. So I think crouching does have its role sometimes, you know.
Is there any time when it might be sort of inappropriate?
I think you have to take into consideration nationalities, different cultural backgrounds, and also how well you know the students. I wouldn't, on the first day, during a getting to know you, go up and crouch next to a group of students, because I think that might be sort of seen as an invasion of personal space. But if you know the group and you've been working with them and you've got a good rapport, then that might be appropriate. It might be seen as friendly. And so I think there are a number of things you've got to consider.
Okay, you're going to ask each other questions about these things. Have a look at the example. Did people drive cars 100 years ago? And you have to think, 100 years ago, 1906. Did we drive cars in 1906? What do you think, Patrizia? Did people drive cars 100 years ago? 100 years ago. This year is 2006.
Yes.
100 years ago is
no.
1906. Okay, so your answer can be, yes, I think they did. Repeat?
Yes. Yes, I think they did.
Okay. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
And no, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
Okay, so, Franca, did people drive cars 100 years ago?
Yes, I think they did.
Okay, good. I don't know. Can you ask Sinae a question about something else? Yes. Use this question, but use a different object.
Okay. Did people ride bikes 100 years ago?
I'm not sure.
Okay, good. So, what I want you to do is you two work together, ask each other questions about these, and you three work together.
I'm going to mix you all up what I'm going to do is I'm going to give half of you a quote. A quote is something which somebody said, okay? And the other half, I'm going to give you something that you read. And you need to stand up and find your new partner, okay? So this is an example of one. It says, this is a quote, and it says, 200 pages of excitement. 200 pages. Now, what would you read that's 200 pages long? A book, yes. Or another word for a book, a storybook, a novel, that's right, a novel. So they belong together. So this person needs to find this person, and then they need to sit down together. Okay? So I'm going to give you each one. You take one. Lovely. Which one? And you two can share that one. Okay. I'd like you to read it to the other people in the class. Don't show it to anybody, just read it. Okay, listen to each other, and when you think you've found your new partner, sit down together. Okay? So stand up and walk around.
Okay, well done, that's excellent. Now we're going to move on to a bit more vocabulary. Not all of these are verbs now. In numbers 1 to 4 below, we've got a choice of 2 words or phrases, and you want to cross the one out that you think is informal, leaving the formal of the 2 options. So if we look at number 1 together, so sentence 1, the government has made good progress or considerable progress in solving environmental problems. Which one sounds more formal? Lovely, yes, so cross out the good. Okay, we'd like to do the same for numbers 2, 3 and 4. So sentence 1, the government has made good progress or considerable progress in solving environmental.
What's your reaction to the clips of people giving instructions that we've just been watching?
Quite positive, because it's nice to see that it works. There's instructions given in different ways, and sometimes you give instructions and you wonder whether they've sunk in or not. And sometimes they have, and sometimes they haven't, and sometimes you don't know whether they have or not. If they haven't, then you can either let them carry on and try to get them to finally understand what they are supposed to be doing, or you can, perhaps if there's 2 students who don't know what they're supposed to be doing, you can ask them to watch what's going on. Sometimes you do have to just stop everyone and start all over again.
Because?
Well, you normally see when you haven't explained it properly, and everything, well, basically everyone is doing what they shouldn't be doing, or they're doing something not quite in the way that you wanted them to do it. That probably means you haven't explained it properly, so you just need to give them a little bit more encouragement, perhaps another demonstration of what's supposed to be going on.
Is giving instructions something you can be trained to do, or do you just kind of learn it on the job?
I think you can be... It's funny, because I think I learned it on the job, and it is trial and error, seeing what works and what doesn't work. And I think you have to give instructions in different ways, if only for variety. But I think an important thing about giving instructions is that it's interesting for students to hear you giving instructions.
So in a sense, giving instructions is sort of good comprehensible input. It's
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I think any language in the classroom is useful language.
And in the clip, for example, where we saw you giving an instruction, had you planned to do it that way? Was it very carefully thought out, or did you just do it sort of on the basis of what it felt like at the time?
It wasn't carefully planned. I think that's what I would have done naturally with that level and that activity, without thinking about it too much. They were very low-level students, so I did have to be quite explicit and make sure that the demonstration I gave was very clear before I started the activity. Otherwise, it wouldn't have worked with that particular group.
So just to begin with, working with in partners, let's see who we've got. Let's have you two. We'll have you two. You two, and you three can work together. I'd like you, in 2 minutes, to write down a list of as many things that you can think that you read. OK? Anything that you read, just write a list in your group. 2 minutes. Ready, steady, go.
Okay. Now, what I need is tables with... This is a table, so what's that? Yes. People, students, and students' noses, just so you know. Okay. So, I need tables with 4 people sitting around them, or it might be 3 for some of you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes, so if you could come and sit over here, bring a chair. And Jinwon, can you also come over here? You stay there. Yeah. Jinwon, if you come over here. Okay, and can you two come around? Out. Yes. Let's actually move over here. Can you 3 all come over here? If you sit in that chair there, that's fine. Yes, you can leave things. Although, can you take things that you don't need off the table? Can you take everything off the table? Does everyone have a chair? It's 2 3s and 1 4. Right.
I don't know whether you agree with that. What do you think about that? I'm going to ask you to talk about that in groups of 3, 3 and 4. And I wonder if I can move you just a little bit so that we don't have people who are from the same country. Yes. So maybe, Jessica, could you talk with Luca and Lourdes? So Luca and Lourdes, if you come over here, and Yusra, if you can talk with Simon and Juanma. No, that doesn't quite work. And then, Inma, if you come over here... That's great. Yes, if you come over here to maybe change places with...
So I go there?
Yes, Lourdes, if you come over here with Luca. And Yusra with Juanma, and maybe Jonghyun, if you could go over and join them as well. And then, Inma, if you could come up here.
11, yes. So, if you could come and sit over here, bring a chair.
Like just then when I didn't quite get it right, because I think it's part of the...
How often do you use different student groupings in a lesson?
It depends on the students, it depends on the activity. In this case, I wanted to put them into... I wanted to make new groups because of the activity, but often I might just do pair work, but I use pair work more than group work. Definitely.
And why do you use pair work? Well, and group work, but pair work especially.
The great thing about pair work is that everyone is either talking or listening. In group work, if you had a group of 4, 2 people might be talking for most of the 3 or 4 minutes, and one person might be drifting off into a daydream.
In your clip, you put particular students with particular students. Why did you do that?
Because the activity I was doing was related to a particular cultural experience based on the students' country of origin, or I wanted them to share their own experience with students from other countries, so I needed them to be in groups. Or I needed them to exchange ideas with people not from their own country.
Do you do that a lot of the time, actually choosing specific students?
It depends on the group, and it depends on if a group is working fine, I will probably leave them be. But if I feel that one student is maybe not getting so much of a chance to talk, or two people don't work well together, I would then shift it around. It depends on the circumstances, I would say.
But it's largely because of the individual student?
Yes, and I think one responds to a dynamic. If the class is feeling a bit flat, you might pep it up by putting them in different groups.
Okay, you've got 1 more minute, guys.
And this is walked, because it's no voice. Voice moved.
In the second sentence. And then new information comes at the end again. And if you organise the information like this, it's clearer. It's just easier to read the text.
Need to pass one on to Pimper there. 2 there. Okay.
It's all ready to go. Fantastic.
My name is Beth Titchener. I'm 15 years old and I'm people at Sunday School.
Okay. Carry on. See what you can do. 5 groups.
What's your reaction to the different clips you've seen of all these different seating arrangements?
It was really interesting to see sort of the same classrooms being used in different ways by the different teachers, using the different seating arrangements and different activities.
In your lesson, you had the students sitting at 2 separate tables. Is there any special reason you did that?
I wanted to make them feel more comfortable and put them at their ease, and I thought if they were all seated around one large table, then sort of certain members of the group might have dominated the feedback sessions. And also, even though they're a proficiency group, there are sort of varying levels within the group, and a couple of them were new to the class that week. So really it was just to make them feel more comfortable.
Do you use that kind of arrangement, students divided, for example, into 2 groups around 2 separate tables? Do you use that arrangement quite often?
It's an arrangement that I prefer because I think it's easier to monitor students and to help them reformulate their ideas or their writing in a more discreet way that's not in front of all of their peers. And also I think for higher levels certainly it encourages learner autonomy.
Because?
Because I think if the students are in a horseshoe shape and the more dominant students will speak, whereas they're focusing on the teacher and reliant on the teacher and waiting for prompts from the teacher, whereas I think it does encourage them to be more independent.
Do you ever teach to the whole class, or do you always put students in groups or pairs?
No, quite often I teach to the whole class, particularly if it's a grammar presentation or something using the OHP. But I actually prefer not sort of the traditional sort of teacher at the front of the class and students waiting on the teacher for prompts. I prefer for them to mingle amongst themselves or talk amongst themselves.
So if you're teaching the whole class, do you ever then sort of change the class? Do you ever move the furniture around in a class so you go from, say, groups to whole class or vice versa?
Yeah, quite often if we're switching from a grammar presentation to a practice exercise, or if I've set up a role play and then they can move and do that.
Poetry.
Poetry. Do you know this word, poetry? Poetry is when it's like a song, but there's no music. And all the lines, they often rhyme. They have the same sound at the end. Okay? We've got some poetry here. So you've got some poems like T.S. Eliot. And it looks a little bit like this. Uh-huh. Okay. Great. Okay, last one.
Frying pan. What do we use a frying pan for? Frying something, for example. Potatoes. You could slice up potatoes, put them in, fry them. It's normally quite large and flat, and you cook with it on the hob. If you want to fry an egg, for example, you would use a frying pan. Saucepan. Saucepan, yeah. Saucepan is a small pot that you would use on the hob to make a sauce in fact, but you can use it for other things. Okay, so if you imagine this is a frying pan, quite shallow and large, a saucepan is quite, well, it's bigger than that. It's more that shape. Okay, and then a larger one we would call, I would call that a pot, a bigger pot, yeah. Stir. Stir is when you turn something with a spoon. If you put sugar in your coffee, you stir your coffee. What else?
Scramble.
Scramble. What do we scramble? It means to mix it up. So almost always what we scramble is eggs. If we're cooking eggs, sometimes we mix them up in the pan and you scramble them. Slice is when you cut like this. This is quite technical, so watch. Okay, as opposed to chop, which is this. Slice, chop. There was another... Yes, what else is there that you're not sure of?
Grate.
Beat. Beat and grate. Okay. We beat eggs, which means we hit them like that. As we're stirring.
Grate.
Grate, yes. What do we normally grate? Cheese. We grate cheese. And we grate cheese so that we can sprinkle it on
pasta.
On pasta or pizza. So we make very small slices of cheese by grating it. What's the difference between bitter and sour?
Sour has a best taste, a bad taste, a bad.
A lemon is sour. Tastes quite nice.
Bitter.
Coffee is a little bit bitter. Tastes quite nice. If you eat something sour, it makes you do this. Like vinegar or lemons.
Okay.
If you eat something bitter, you do that. So if your coffee is too strong, it's too bitter.
And number 7, the future of federal funding is up in the air. What does that phrase mean, up in the air?
Still a dream, nowhere.
Say again.
Like, still a dream is not real.
Yes, so we don't know what's going to happen. Yeah? So can you think of one word that says that? The future is... We're not sure what's going to happen. What's a more formal word than for sure?
Unsure.
More formal rather than the opposite. I'm sure, I'm...
Definite?
Absolutely.
Lovely. And the opposite?
Absolutely.
That's it. Yeah, so the future is uncertain. Uncertain.
Has anybody, Idmar, have you got anything for it seems? Anything?
It looks.
It looks. Maybe you could say something. It appears. Maybe it looks as if, or it looks like. Would be great. It's likely that. Yes. So it seems. That's great. And what's the adjective? The adjective for appears. Adverb apparently would be great as well. No, that's lovely. That was where I was trying to get to. Apparently and apparent. So you could say apparently instead of it seems that. Increasing. Rising, getting bigger, getting larger would be lovely. Growing would also be lovely. Going up. Change, yeah, definitely. Changing.
To the other
And seeing other people is reassuring
Don't
as well.
show it to anybody.
That's pretty similar to what I do.
Okay, listen to each other.
What's your reaction to the clips we've just been watching about vocabulary teaching?
I think it's interesting to see the variety of ways in which we all teach vocabulary, and I never realised that I use that many different ways myself.
There's a contrast between some of the techniques you use where you're actually teaching vocabulary and some of the other clips where teachers are trying to get the vocabulary from the students. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I think it's important to elicit vocabulary sometimes, and what's important is making a memorable experience when that word is learned. So if you elicit it and somebody gets it, then they're going to remember getting that. They're going to feel a bit chuffed, and they're going to think, oh, I guessed that word and I didn't really know it, so I feel good about it. Or even, how did he get that word? And the person next to him might remember that.
And so the fact that it's memorable actually helps students to understand or remember or feel good about
I think it gives them reference points if they have memorable images or feelings while this is all happening. There's words that they won't remember because they won't need to remember or won't want to remember, but there'll be events that happen in the classroom with words that they want to know, and they can attach them to those events.
In your clip, we watched you using a number of different techniques to present various vocabulary items. How do you decide which one to use?
It's quite a spontaneous decision. It's not something planned. Obviously, certain words lend themselves to mime, such as beating an egg. And, for example, frying pan doesn't particularly lend itself to a mime because that could be anything, so I'll pick up a pen and draw it. I might try and mime it first because I don't have a pen in my hand, but obviously while I'm doing that I'm thinking they're not seeing a frying pan, so I'll try and draw it on the board. I'm not a great artist, but you can roughly do the outline.
A lot of this then is just reacting to what's happening at the moment it's happening. That's what teachers do.
Yeah, absolutely. And reacting to what you're doing as well, reacting to the information that you know you're giving or not giving.
We saw you do drawing and miming, and you used facial expressions, and you used various explanation techniques. Is any of those your favourite, or do you like doing them all?
It's just what happens, really. I quite like making noises as well. I don't know how successful it is, but the beating of an egg, for example, it's natural for me just to go just to add it to the action of that. It's nice to be able to perform a little bit and do a little mime and a noise and things like that, if it's appropriate for the word.
Well done. Okay, I'm going to stop there and we're going to move on to do a bit of reading ourselves. Do you recognise this person here? Yeah. Do you? Who is it? J.K. Rowling. That's right. Good. Okay. Let's rub this off the board. Let's put her up on the board here. Okay, we're going to do some reading in a minute about J.K. Rowling. Okay. Do you know much about her? What do you know about her?
She's the author of Harry Potter.
Okay, good. Okay, this side is going to be things I know about J.K. Rowling. Okay, good. Well done. Do you know anything else about her?
A child or children?
Okay, she has a child or some children. Okay.
I think she's a teacher.
Okay. She's a teacher. Do you know that, or you're not sure?
I'm not sure.
Okay, let's have a second column, and let's put this one, things we want to know,
I think.
or we're not sure about. Okay, she's a teacher. Good. Yeah? Anything else that you know about her? One more question that we'd like to know about her. Has she died? Or is she alive? Do you know the answer to that?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. Is she still alive? It's a perfect question to ask. That's fine. Okay. Now, what we've got here is the reading that I'm going to give you. It's an article about her, and the article is called A Suitcase of Stories. What do you think the article's going to be about, then? What's a suitcase? You should know, Michal. What's a suitcase?
A suitcase is luggage.
Yes, it's an item of luggage, isn't it? So when you go on holiday, you take your clothes in a suitcase. Okay, so what do you think it means, a suitcase of stories? Yeah, David?
About her life.
About her life?
Yes.
So all her stories are in a suitcase?
Yes.
About her life?
Yes.
Okay, that's a good suggestion. Any more suggestions?
I think she talked about all the stories that she has wrote.
Okay, and maybe she keeps them in her suitcase. All her stories that she's written, she keeps in her suitcase. They're all very good suggestions. What I would like you to do is spend 3 minutes reading the article and tell me what the title means. So what does it mean? Does it mean that it's a summary of her life? Does she keep all the stories she's written in one suitcase? What does the title mean? Don't use your dictionaries. It's just quick reading through to get the general idea. You don't need to understand detail at this stage. Okay? So what are you going to read for? Which question do you need to answer? What does the title mean? Well done, Keiko. All right? Okay. 3 minutes. Okay, and stop. Any ideas? Martina?
Joan had been in Portugal.
Yeah.
And she had that suitcase of fantastic stories about Harry Potter.
When she came back from Portugal. Mm-hmm. That's right, so she must have written the stories about Harry Potter in Portugal. Okay, and then when she came home, she brought them back in her suitcase. Okay, simple, well done. You were nearly there. What I would like you to do now is just quickly read through it again with your partner and discuss the points on the board. Are these right? Does it mention these points in the text? Mm-hmm. And can they answer our questions? Can the text answer our questions? So just go through the text again to find out if it mentions these points and if it can answer our questions. Okay? 3 minutes, just going through quickly.
Rabbit face. Is she still alive? Of course. She's rich. Is she rich?
Yes.
She was Income, support.
Yeah, she has written Rich, and then the other books called Rabbit. And is he still alive?
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Let's just go through quickly. Is this right? She wrote Harry Potter? Yes. Okay. She has a child or she has a couple of children. Does it tell you about that? No. It doesn't tell you. Okay. She's British? Yes. Well, it says that she, yeah. So she can speak English, of course. I think, yes, that's pretty much confirmed in there. She was on income support. She had money. I don't know. We don't know about that. But what about she's rich now? I think we know she's rich. She's a best-selling author, so I think it's quite clear. She's a teacher. Yes. Yeah? Okay. All right, okay, if you want to change it, perhaps not now. Now she's a writer, so we could change it to she was a teacher. And has she written any other books? No?
Yes, called Rabbit.
Marco?
Another book called Rabbit.
Called Rabbit.
Called Rabbit.
Yes, another book called Rabbit. Excellent. So yes, she has, and it was called Rabbit. Okay. Is she still alive? Yes. You think yes. Does it tell you in the text? It doesn't tell you, but from general knowledge in the classroom, is she still alive? Yeah, she is. I think she's still writing them. I think she needs to finish 9 novels, I think. So, yes, that's... she's still got a bit of writing to do. So we could change it to she was a teacher. And has she written any other books? No? Marco?
In the reading sequence we've just watched, you asked the students to tell you what they knew about J.K. Rowling, who is the subject of the reading text, long before they actually got to the reading. Why did you do that?
Well, first of all, to generate some interest in the topic that they were reading, and to give them their own input into the task, to share their knowledge and experience of the topic. And for any students who might not know anything about J.K. Rowling, they would benefit from the collective information that we put on the board. And also, afterwards, it served as a second reading task when we went back and checked for the information, so they were reading for detail. So it had two purposes, really.
Is this something you always do in reading lessons, or was this rather special?
To begin with, I always try to generate interest in the topic of the reading, whether it be through the method I used just then, or through vocabulary, or pictures, or video, or songs. They have to have some interest in the topic. They've got to be motivated to read. And it stops them from just reading a text cold as well. So they have some background information about that topic.
The next thing you did is you got them just to try and find out what the caption to the text meant. Why did you give them that reading task?
I wanted them to read to get the general idea of the text, to read for gist. And I set them a task to give them a purpose to read and to get the gist from the reading text. If I hadn't set a question or asked them to predict what the title meant and then check their predictions, then they'd just be reading aimlessly and perhaps getting hung up on all the individual words and what each sentence means. So I just wanted them to read quickly through to get the general idea of the text, which is a valuable skill to have. We read for gist all the time. We're skimming through different texts, and they need to be able to learn to do that in a foreign language.
And what did you do after the sequence that we've just watched?
After the sequence, we drew out some language from the reading text, which was the past perfect. We highlighted different sentences from the text and looked at them in context and tried to understand how we use the past perfect tense.
And do you always do that? Do you always try and get language out of the text like that?
I often try to do that. If I want to teach some language, it's always useful to see the language in context first. I don't always do it, but it's a good method of teaching language, I feel. Ask you to do now, we're going to do a bit of speaking about what you read. I've got 4 questions and I'm going to give you 2 questions each. They're different questions, okay? Have a look at them. There's one. There's 2. So, can you be my partner for 1 minute for an example, Ines? Okay. Which one have you got?
1.
You got 1 and 2, so I'm going to ask you number 3. Ines, when do you usually read?
When?
In the morning, the afternoon, in the evening?
In the afternoon.
In the afternoon? After school?
Yes.
Okay, good.
But in summer, maybe at night? Yes.
At night?
Before go to the bed.
Before going to bed?
Going to bed.
Excellent. Okay. Now, she can return the same question to me, but she doesn't have to repeat what she says, what I said. What can she say to me instead?
And you?
And you? Okay, or...
How about you?
How about you? Okay, so...
And you?
I usually read when I'm on holiday. Okay, I love reading when I'm on the beach. Okay, that's my favourite time to read. Then Ines can ask me her first question. What is it?
Number 1 or 2?
I don't mind.
Have you read a good book recently?
Oh, yes, I have read a good book recently. I think I told you about it yesterday. It's a Chinese book.
Yes.
Called Empress Orchid. Yeah. This is what you need to do. Take it in turns and then return the question by saying, and you? And have a quick chat about your reading habits. Ready, steady, go.
Me? Oh yes, I usually read in the afternoon too. But recently,
Osamu book is
I didn't read top one. What type of thing do you read most? Maybe I like music, so I read the music about I read most my dictionary. Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Great. Well done, everybody. Really good. Just one thing. What's the past of read? Read. Okay. It's funny, isn't it? Because you have the word read, you have the verb read, and then the past simple. It's the same spelling, but the different pronunciation. So here we have read, and here we have read, like the colour. Okay. Same with the past participle as well. Okay. Read, read, read. And one more thing, just to double check. So, when I'm a child, where's the mistake with that? If I write that on the board, when I'm a child. Okay, change that to the past. Well done. It's a simple mistake, but just to make sure, when I was. Okay? Good work. Okay, I'll rub that off the board. Let's just have a little bit of feedback.
Okay, Sari, tell me one thing about Rowena. Anything that you found out.
Whenever she wants to read, she when she read a book, she sometimes almost she reads novel.
Okay, she usually reads novels. Say it.
She usually reads novels.
Good. Okay, thank you. Well done. David, tell us one thing about your partner.
We're going to do now. We're going to do about a 5-minute speaking activity, and then we'll finish for the day. And I just wanted, if you could look on the board. I've got this problem sometimes, is that I forget. I've got this illness that when I write, I forget my vowels, and I need you to. I know it's terrible. And you've got to help me with this. So just have a look at this. Oh! I got better for a second. I really do have problems. Yeah, it's terrible. I don't know what to. I've been to the vowel doctor. I get a vowel supplement. The weather in
England.
Sorry, this is a word which has no consonants at all. In
Country.
a country, the weather in a country has a great effect on its people and its culture. Fantastic. The weather of a country has a great effect on its people and its culture. Okay, so what I'd like you to do now is just 5 minutes. Could you brainstorm some ideas, some examples of how the weather changes or has an effect on the weather of maybe your country has an effect on the people who come from your country and also the culture. And if you compare weather and culture, you might find some similarities or differences. So 5 minutes, please, in your groups.
For the places you go, usually winter time we are staying more than summertime.
The weather doing affect the Chinese people a lot because I'm in a city which we eat a lot of hot food because the weather is so sticky and humid. So if we eat hot food, then we can just
sweat
a lot. Not
different from London.
For what?
From London.
Yeah, a lot. Because here, even if it's summertime, they are not eating cold one. Just chips.
I mean, weather here is just cool. And it's not like weather somewhere else.
How about Spain?
Well, Spain is hot, isn't it?
But it depends. In my city, winter is very cold and summer is very hot. And it changes the way we live. It changes a lot because in summer people is in the street until very late, 2 a.m. And in winter.
And the siesta.
Yes, and in winter there is no siesta. In summer, almost everybody has.
It's really good.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you just in case I don't know if you're going to go off and play football. We're going to come back to this tomorrow, and we're going to talk about the different areas where weather and or how in areas in which weather can affect people and culture. And tonight you can do some research into, because as you know, the weather in this country is so warm and bright, and the people are so warm and so lovely. And thank you very much. Thank you so much, everyone. You've been brilliant.
This is what you need to do. Take it in turns and then return the question by saying, and you? And have a quick chat about your reading habits. Ready, steady, go.
Why did I say that?
Do you normally say that kind of thing?
I don't know. I just I think it's like starting off the activity, ready, steady, go. But I don't think I normally say it, but perhaps I do.
There are a lot of things we're unconscious of, aren't there?
Yeah.
Until you see them on the screen.
I think you introduced it in a really nice way, really relaxing. They all feel very, or they'll look very relaxed now.
What was it she did that made...
Well, the modelling, I thought that by doing it and demonstrating it, but also you personalised it by talking about what you liked and referring back to yesterday.
We're going to do now, we're going to do about a 5-minute speaking activity, and then we'll finish for the day. And I just wanted, if you could look on the board, I've got this problem sometimes, is that I forget, I've got this illness that when I write, I forget my vowels, and I need you to, I know, it's terrible, and you've got to help me with this, so just have a look at this.
They knew this before, I mean, I'd done this before. Maybe not every student, but some of them knew it. And they quite like it.
I got better for a second.
You got better for a second. I love that.
I know.
I really do have problems, yeah, it's terrible.
So this is a kind of way that you often use just to sort of get things off the ground?
I don't know where it came. I may have seen it somewhere, but it came to my mind about 6 months ago, and I just did it one day in class, just for fun, because I was writing something up on the board which was a bit boring.
They're all very engaged.
And it's absolutely brilliant because people get into it.
And so the whole point of it is just at the beginning of an activity,
yes.
You just want to get...
Well, it's something boring which they might, like an essay title, which they might find dry. It brings it to life.
What interested me about those two clips is two apparently very different styles of teacher. So my question, I think, is it because you're very different kind of teachers, or would you both change if, for example, you taught at the advanced level, would you be a bit more like Philip, and if you were teaching at the lower level, would you be a bit more like Pip?
Yes, I think we would change a lot. I wouldn't have to perhaps give them a model at advanced level. They would know what to do. Part of the model was getting them to return the question with, what about you, how about you? Whereas an advanced class would already know how to do that.
If you did what you did with your class, with mine, if I modelled some questions and I got them to do it, they'd probably think...
I was patronising.
Yes,
them.
They might have come to the wrong level or something, or they think, we don't need this is a waste of time.
Yeah.
So...
Having said that, if the topic is an easier topic
yes.
with lower levels...
Yes.
I'd be happy to just let
yes.
them sort of ask their own
yes,
questions.
Exactly.
But the topic, it's quite specific, talking about reading. Not all of them read, so I tried to, choose some questions which would involve them all as well. So the topic was quite...
Excuse me. I'm also interested in whether it's true that the higher you go in terms of level, the more authentic or the less prescriptive you have to be or you need to be. In other words, in a very high level, you can just say, "Oh, talk about this." Whereas if you do that with let's say, an intermediate or a pre-intermediate level, they might be lost because they don't have the confidence or the language to do it.
So when you were both sort of thinking about these classes, I think what I'm hearing is that you quite deliberately sat down and thought, the way to do this, I must do this. It wasn't a sort of in-class decision. It was something you planned out quite definitely.
Definitely planned to do that and have the questions ready for them there to use. And in my experience as well, with lower levels, if you don't give them a demonstration or a model, they can just end up giving one-word answers, and it's not nearly as effective as if you do. So I definitely planned that into the lesson.
Whereas when you were thinking about it,
I was thinking that I knew that I think confidence is a good word, because I think what Pip, I hope I can speak for you, but what Pip was doing was maybe giving them confidence to go into the discussion, whereas with me, I was confident in their confidence. So
because you knew this class quite well,
I knew the class exactly. I knew the class quite well.
Now, we're going to be talking about food and cooking today. So to warm up, I'm going to point to you in turn, okay? And I just want you to mention the name of a food. So, for example, I might point to Jinwon and he'll say orange. Easy? Okay, I'm going to point to Anna. She'll say chicken. Okay? You've got 3 seconds. If you don't say the name of a food in 3 seconds, I'm afraid you're out of the game. But don't worry, it won't change your life.
Right, so we're going to continue with academic writing today. Now, we've looked at understanding the task, at brainstorming for ideas, structuring those ideas, and linking them into paragraphs. Today we're going to look at actually noting them down in an academic style. So we're going to be looking at the grammar and style for academic writing today. Okay? We're going to start off with vocabulary, particularly in our phrasal verbs. We're going to be looking at phrasal verbs.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. How are you? Good. I'm going to show you a picture. Tell me, it's some writing. Tell me what it is. Could you tell me what it is? What kind of writing? It's a letter, absolutely. It's a letter. Okay. Okay, I'm going to show you another piece of writing. Could you tell me what this is?
Today we're going to look at ways of improving our writing, and we're going to look at lots of examples of texts and how we can organise text better, and hopefully that will help you with all types of your writing. Before we start, with a partner, could you make a note of what makes a good piece of writing? Try and think of some aspects. For example, grammatical accuracy is important. Can you think of some other things that are important when you're writing? What's a teacher looking for when he's marking a piece of work?
We're going to start off with vocabulary, particularly in our phrasal verbs. We're going to be looking at phrasal verbs.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. How are you? Good. I'm going to show you a picture. Tell me, it's some writing.
What's your reaction to the various clips we've seen of the different ways teachers start their lessons?
It wasn't actually a great surprise. I think there are a few sort of standard ways of introducing a lesson. You can express your sort of intentions for that lesson, your goals for that lesson, which, as I remember, most of the other teachers did, perhaps not in quite as much detail as I did with summary of previous lessons. Another way that I remember one of the teachers, Louise, starting a lesson was with a game, with a bit of a warmer, which again I like to do quite frequently to put students in a good mood and a sort of frame of mind that is good for learning.
In the clip of you teaching, you started with quite a detailed explanation of what the students were going to be doing in the lesson. Why did you decide to do it like that?
I did that in that lesson because it was a very focused course. It was a grammar and writing course, and we had some very clear goals for a number of weeks of focusing on academic writing, and I divided the skill of academic writing into several sub-skills, which we covered. We covered one sub-skill each week, and then built from that, developed that. And I think it's important for students to know what they're doing in this next lesson and how that fits in with the whole picture.
But I gather from what you've said so far that in other lessons you might start in a completely different way.
Very different way. Some lessons I won't actually announce what we're going to do in that lesson at all. I might leave a bit of suspense. If I'm doing more of a skills lesson, so concentrating more on reading, speaking, listening, I might focus more on the topic, try and engage the students in the topic, and in that way you can lighten the mood of the lesson, make it less academic, so they can almost forget perhaps that they're studying English and get absorbed by the subject. For example, in a lesson I've been teaching this week, we did some work with a video of the beach, using also the book of the beach. And
to start the lesson, I sat them down and I told them I was going to read part of a text and I was going to describe a scene. And I wanted them, as I was reading, to close their eyes and allow a picture to be conjured up in their mind. And when I'd finished reading it, I wanted them to draw that picture onto a piece of paper. So they didn't have a clue what we were going to be studying, what the topic was going to be. But they did that, they enjoyed it, and they drew their beach, and we then read the text in more detail afterwards, and they judged their pictures to decide whose was most accurate. And that's when they said, is this from the film of the beach? I said, well, it kind of is. Another student said, it's from the book of the beach. I said, yes, that's right. Then we went on to read the same section of to watch the same section of the video, to do a bit more reading from the book. And I didn't announce to them what we were going to do at all, and they got into the theme.
And as a result, they were sort of very engaged by the time they actually came to do the reading and stuff like that.
That's it, and I think if they are engaged in the actual topic, when they're not focusing on what they need to learn, trying to think about rules and things like that, then they absorb things very well, very naturally.
How carefully do you plan how you start lessons? I mean, do you think about it very carefully, or is it something that sort of comes naturally, as it were, because you're an experienced teacher?
These days, as you say, I think it comes more naturally. I'm sure when I started out, I put a lot of planning into every stage of the lesson, but I tend to, I think, at every stage of a lesson these days, adapt to the situation, walk into a classroom and almost sense what the mood is in there and react to it. And obviously it comes with the activity that we're going to start off with. And as I said, the goal for the lesson, whether you're focusing on language or skills, it comes naturally with those decisions.
Okay, clear the table. Good. Okay, now here is a pile of words, all right? What I want you to do is spread the words out, face up, all over the table. Not in rows, just all over the table, like this. Okay? Yes, that's right. Spread them all over. Good. Okay. Can you all put your hands on your knees? And now on your head. No, I'm joking. Just on your knees. Okay. Now, I'm going to read these words out. Okay? As I read each word, you have to grab it. All right? Just grab it. And you have to grab it before the rest of the people in your group. So don't be polite, okay? I'm going to read a word, you snatch it. Don't let other people snatch it, but don't fight, okay? So don't be polite, but don't be violent either. Okay, hands on knees. The first word, are you ready? Is recipe. Recipe. Okay. Can you do me a favour, actually? If you snatch the word, can you hold it up in the air and say, got it?
Got it.
Okay. Rare. Okay. Dish.
What?
Dish.
Got it.
If you get it, keep it. If you get it, keep it. Okay? Oven.
I got it.
Careful. Yes, hands on knees, because some people have long arms. Sweet. Bake. Cook. If you've got any cookers left, right? Okay. Beef. You're not so violent over there. Be careful. This is the dangerous one. Chop. Okay, right, so everybody gets the last one. Right, what I want you to do, well, count up how many you've got first, and we'll find out who the fastest reader and snatcher is. 9, wow. 8 or 9? How many? 11, so you both won. Well done. Okay, and you won with 8. Oh, 9.
14.
Huh? 14? Anna, well done. 14. 8? 10? 4. 11. Okay, so well done, Anna, with 14 there.
Okay, guys, so we've been doing education all of this week, lots of vocabulary. So this afternoon we're just going to have a quick vocab quiz before we start to wake you up after lunch, and then use the vocabulary, lots of listening and speaking. Okay, so we have 2 teams, Team 1 and Team 2. And if I can have one volunteer from Team 1 here, and Soledad, can you be the volunteer? If you can just move your chair a little bit back, that's fine. Thank you, Hyungbom. Okay. So Soledad and Hyungbom, don't look. I'm going to write a word and your team will explain the word to you. It's an education word. Okay? And the first person I hear can have 1 point. So no cheating, no looking. Okay. Okay, go.
It's a school for everybody. Not
public. No, it's not things.
Oh, well done, Soledad. Sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay, and change. Different person. Swap over. Ready? Oh, better change that when you're cheating. Okay, go.
An intensive course.
Very intensive course.
Crash course.
Yeah.
Very good, very quick over here. Okay, next person. Swap over. Make sure you're not looking. I trust you. Ready? Okay, go.
Not a student, but small lecturer. No.
What about the opposite of teacher?
Student.
Yeah.
Very
Well
young
done.
student.
Okay, one more. Last chance, guys. You're just not quite quick enough.
Roman. Huh?
Ready? Okay, go.
This exam, and then you're 16 years old when you.
GCSE.
Yeah.
I'll give you both points. Okay, guys, thank you. You can sit back down. Everyone's awake.
Where did you get this game from?
Okay, go. Someone showed it to me in Brazil, actually, my first teaching job.
It's a terrific game, isn't it? It's really good.
It's great because it kind of works with all levels, grammar, vocabulary.
What was your reaction to watching those games clips?
It was a really good reminder of sort of how much fun games are in class and how much students generally, as a rule, enjoy doing them.
Why did you use a game in your lesson, and what was it for? What stage of the lesson did it occur in?
This was right at the beginning of the lesson, so it served as a warmer to energise the students after lunchtime. And also I wanted to recycle some of the vocabulary they'd been looking at and learning all week, to prepare them for the listening and the reading activity that followed.
Do you use games a lot?
I probably do use games quite a lot to recycle vocabulary or to introduce a topic, or maybe as a diagnostic activity to see sort of exactly how much vocabulary students know about a particular topic.
What are the sort of key characteristics of a good game then?
I think an element of competition to kind of motivate them to take part. They love team games because obviously they're not put on the spot and asked to kind of produce things individually. So an element of competition, teams, and I guess sort of fast-paced activities.
This is a very unfair question, but do you have a favourite game? One that you like more than the others?
I have to say the Backs to the Board is probably one of my favourite games because it's so simple and you can use it for all levels of students. I mean, this was a proficiency group, but it can be used with beginners. It can be used with sort of single lexical items or whole sentences. So it can be used for grammatical forms as well. So that probably is my favourite.
My name's Philippa Titley, but most people call me Pip. I've been teaching English for about 10 years. I taught in China for a year and I taught in Spain for a year. And ever since then, I've been teaching English here in the UK.
I'm Philip. I've been a teacher for 20 years. I've taught in London and also in Paris, and at the moment I teach mostly high levels, particularly the proficiency exam.
My name's Louise and I've been teaching for about 6 years now. I started working in Brazil and I've since worked in Colombia and in Mexico. And at the moment I'm working in Wimbledon at a language school and also at College of Further Education, teaching a combination of general English and some exam courses.
My name's Mark. I've been teaching for 6 years. I started teaching because I wanted to live in Barcelona for a year, having been on holiday there. So I trained to be a teacher in Barcelona, taught there for a year, came back to London, got a job teaching, and just kept on doing it because I started to enjoy it. I haven't looked back since, and I haven't worked anywhere else since either.
Hi, I'm Pip. I've been teaching English for about 9 years now. I started out teaching in Milan, in Italy, teaching business people. Then I moved back to London and taught in a private language school for 2 years before going abroad again to Belize, where I taught in a primary school in a Spanish-speaking area. And I've been back in England teaching for about 5 years now.
Hi, my name's Chris McDermott. I've been teaching English now for just over 8 years. Started my teaching career in this country before moving abroad. I taught for a year in Italy, a year in Spain, before coming back to England. And I've been working in London for about 3 years now. Currently working at Wimbledon School of English, where I've been for about 18 months.
Thank you.